orders pertaining to the Finance Act 2023.
Summons shall issue to Mr. Bargoria to attend court on 13th of September.
And calls for compensation of the August 7th, 1998 bomb blast victims dominate memorial.
The CEO refused. I said, I have my life. Let me go home.
As survivors recount the horror visited upon them on that fateful day.
I lost 3 teeth. It was an open hole.
And that's not all on the Monday segment, Power and Politics. We speak to former Kiambu Town Member of Parliament, Jude Njomo. He has been very vocal on the Finance Act 2023. Now, earlier today, the High Court declined to suspend implementation of housing levy, and the 3-judge bench said it cannot revoke a decision made in the Court of Appeal. We shall be picking his mind on what needs to be done moving forward. As you can see, he is waiting for that conversation coming from Mombasa. But as always, we invite you to join the conversation. Our SMS line is 22047. On X, formerly Twitter, tweet us at TV47News, at George Maringa _ use the hashtag Daily Report. Once again, thank you for choosing us to inform you. My name is George Maringa. Catherine Simalawi is on sign language interpretation. Let's get informed with some of the stories making headlines tonight. And we begin with a developing story. Breaking news just coming in a few minutes ago, and Majority Leader of Nyamira County Assembly, Elijah Osiemo, has tragically passed away due to a road accident. Osiemo, who also served as the Member of County Assembly MCA for Nyamira Ward, was en route to Nairobi with 2 of his colleagues when they were involved in a devastating collision on the Mai Mahiu Naivasha Road. Confirming the incident, Nyamira Governor Amos Nyaribo disclosed that the 2 other MCAs, Duke Masira and Priscilla Nyatichi, sustained injuries and were promptly taken to Naivasha Level 4 Hospital for medical attention. We are now joined by our reporter, Willie Dennis Njiru, for the latest on that. Good evening, Willie. Sad news coming in from Naivasha tonight. What more can you tell us on perhaps the death? 1 and 2, have the families of the victim as well as those injured come to the hospital yet?
Thank you very much indeed. It is a sad evening for the County Assembly of Nyamira, where, as you have indeed stated to our viewers, that the leader of majority has since succumbed to an accident that occurred this evening. And as of now, we are at the Naivasha Hospital, that is the county hospital, and 2 of the MCAs that were aboard the same vehicle are taken ill here, and they will be transferred to for specialized treatment at the capital city in Nairobi. Duke Oyagi Masisa, he is the deputy majority leader, was in the same vehicle, and Priscilla Nyatichi was also, she's a nominated MCA, and Duke is the township MCA, member of the county assembly, and Elijah Osiemo, who has since succumbed, is the MCA for Nyamira Ward in Nyamira County. And indeed, it's a sad evening for the whole county. And as you can see me here, I have a whole battalion of the county assembly, members of parliament, other subordinate staff who have come indeed to say, to have solidarity with those who were involved in the accident. And just allow me to just make an engagement with Duke, who was one of those who were involved in the accident. Mheshimiwa, kindly bring us up to speed, and sorry for what happened.
Thank you.
What exactly happened.
Thank you. We were driving straight from Kisii. We made a stopover at Narok, and when we were almost approaching Mai Mahiu. That was when a boda rider got into the road. The driver tried to overtake with emergency, and then by bad luck, he hit the boda rider who had jackal with him. And then after that, I cannot even say that I saw what happened. The only thing I heard my colleague, Honorable Priscilla, screaming that, oh God, oh God. When it left the road, off the road to the nearby Shamba, and then we ended up in the ditch. Yeah, so for now, I want to pass my condolences to my brother's family, Osiemo family at large. I want to tell them, Pole, I've lost a brother, I've lost the leader majority whom I deputize, I've lost a very calm man, very concerned, who also made me now to come. I was planning to leave Nyamira today in the evening, but he asked me to join him to Nairobi, where Honorable Nyamira MCAs was waiting as the chairman of the committee that we are coming to join him. Yeah.
All right. So sorry for that. Maybe perhaps time is not on our side. Briefly, what can you say about the situation on our roads? As we can see, on that road has been a road that has been having so many fatalities.
First of all, let me take this opportunity to convey my sincere condolences to the family of the late Richard Osiemo, the MCA Nyamira Ward. I also want to say pole sana to our colleagues here who are also involved in the road accident. This evening is a very bad day for the leadership of Nyamira County. We are all congregated here to give support and the necessary support so that we can have the ones who have been injured evacuated to Nairobi for further medical attention.
Thank you. That is it in brief on what really happened. A boda motor rider who was carrying charcoals to Naivasha obstructed them on the road, and that caused the accident that involved 3 MCAs. This is a story we're bringing you up to speed. That is tomorrow, and as they are being transferred to Nairobi, maybe subsequently we'll be having more updates from the Nairobi hospital where they are scheduled to be. From me here in Naivasha, I take it back to you in studio.
For that sad story that he is following up on the untimely road accident, and that has caused the demise of Nyamira Ward MCA Elijah Osiemo. The crash happened along the Mai-Mahiu Naivasha Road this afternoon, and Honorable Osiemo was traveling with 2 other MCAs, and the governor of the county has instructed, that is Governor Amos Nyaribo, has instructed that the body of the deceased be moved to Nairobi for preservation as the county comes to terms with this tragic death. That is a statement from the governor. But that story we'll be covering for you in the best way we can. Moving on, President William Ruto has insisted that the opposition needs to meet 2 crucial prerequisites before engaging in the scheduled discussions between the government and the opposition. Addressing the residents of Murang'a in Nyeri on Monday, Ruto emphasized that the nation's progress hinges on 2 factors. That is the absence of any discussions concerning a handshake and a clear renouncement of protests by the opposition.
For the 3rd day, President William Ruto toured the Mount Kenya region, with stops in Murang'a and Tetu, where he launched water projects, a road and a dairy project in Othaya, and a new bus park in Nyeri town, even as Kenyans and the international community wait with bated breath to see the outcome of the imminent talks between the government and the opposition. Along the route, the president and his entourage affirming their position on the talks with the Azimio One Kenya group.
Tunakubaliana jameni, mambo ile ingine yote tunaweza kuzungumza, lakini mambo mawili hayako katika mjadala. Mambo ya sijui handshake nusu mkate, wananchi wa Kenya wamekataa.
Unajua huyu mzee amezoea fujo. Alitisha Moi, akaigizwa kwa serikali. Akasubua mzee wetu Mwai Kibaki, alikuwa mzee hataki mambo mingi, akamleta kwa nusu mkate. Akaenda akauzia Uhuru Kenyatta uoga, akakubali handshake. Akakuja akatuhangaisha.
Sisi tuko tayari kuongea mambo yanayohusu mwananchi wa kawaida. Mambo ya kibinafsi, mambo ya kugawa mamlaka, mambo ya nusu mkate, mambo ya handshake, hayo hayako kwa meza ya sisi kuongea na wale marafiki zetu. Mnataka mkate nusu? Hebu tuonyeshe rais wetu hatutaki mkate nusu.
The president praising Nyeri County residents for what he called a record-breaking uptake and repayment of the Hustler Fund, with promises to further boost the fund.
Sisi ni inchi ya amani. Sisi ni inchi ya demokrasia. Sisi ni inchi ya kufuata sheria. Na ndio tumewaambia wale ambao tunashindana wao wapinzani wetu, endeleeni na kazi ya upinzani. Kosoa mahali mnataka, lakini vita muachane nayo na mambo ya kutafuta nusu mkate musahau. Nego kana tigo. Tumekubaliana?
The president's schedule in the Mount Kenya region includes an additional 2 days packed with various project inaugurations and strategic political meetings with both local and national leaders.
It's the end of the day, the third day of the President's working tour of Mount Kenya region, and what you hear behind me are the last speeches of the day. A day that has been characterized by touring and launching development projects, but as well as some local and national politics. One thing is emerging, a message that's been consistent in every stop. The upcoming talks already have an agenda, with one of the leaders of those talks, Kimani Ichung'wah, the majority leader of parliament, given a brief. Number one, no violence. Number two, the opposition should very strongly respect that Kenya is a constitutional democracy, meaning the winner rules and the loser has to do the oversight. That is a message that is being sent right here. Victor Muyakane from the streets of Nyeri town for TV47.
Thank you, Victor, for that. And you can trust TV47 to bring you up to date with the tour of the president, and you can await much more on the People's Court tomorrow. Now, the High Court has summoned the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA Director General Daniel Kiptoo Bargoria to appear before the Milimani-based court on August 13th for implementing the fuel levy, despite a court order on Finance Act 2023. Kiptoo was ordered to appear before court and show cause why he should not be held in contempt of court after a case against him was filed by Busia Senator Okiya Omtata. Moige William reports.
Monday, a three-judge bench appointed by Chief Justice Martha Koome last month to hear and determine petitions against the Finance Act 2023 commenced hearings with a pre-trial session held.
Okay.
The three judges include David Majanja, Lawrence Mugambi and Christine Miori. It is during the mention of the petitions, the judges in their directions ordered the EPRA director to appear before court to show cause why he should not be held in contempt of court for disobeying court orders issued by Justice Mogore Dhande on the suspension of the Finance Act 2023. The contempt case against the EPRA boss was filed by Busia Senator Okiya Omtata. Daniel Kiptoo is accused of acting against a court order that temporarily suspended the implementation of the Finance Act 2023 when EPRA increased the VAT on fuel from 8% to 16% on June 30th, 2023.
There was an application by Mr. Omtata for contempt. Summons shall issue to Mr. Bargoria to attend court on 13th of September for the hearing of the application dated 4th July.
The court at the same time declined to issue conservatory orders suspending the implementation of some section of the Finance Act 2023, including the housing levy. The three-judge bench noting the Court of Appeal dealt with the matter and they do not see the reason to depart from the directives issued.
We are not persuaded that we should exercise this jurisdiction at this stage in view of the fact that those issues were all before the court when it made the decision.
On Friday, the Law Society of Kenya, LSK, moved to court to challenge the constitutionality of the Finance Act 2023. In a certificate of urgency, the society claims that the mandatory affordable housing levy threatens the social-economic interest of Kenyans. The move by LSK comes after a notice published by the Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, that deductions will be backdated to July 1st when the act was supposed to take effect.
All Kenyans, I'm sure, pay taxes in one way or another, but that taxation should be within the law, should not be exploitative, and should make sense to a common Kenyan.
The court at the same time rejected applications to summon speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate of affidavits they filed in court regarding the Finance Act 2023, where petitioner Okiya Omtata and Eliud Matindi wanted Moses Wetangula and Amason Kingi summoned to court for cross-examination. The case will be heard on September 13th and 14th, 2023. Moige William, TV47.
Thank you, Mwege, for that. Now, calls for compensation for the victims of the 1998 bomb blast attack dominated the memorial service at the bomb blast park today. Speaking during the 25th anniversary of the attacks, leaders called on both the Kenyan and the American governments to ensure victims of the terrorist attack are compensated this year.
According to the leaders, it is extremely sad that victims of the 1998 bomb blast attack are yet to receive their compensation 25 years later.
I've been reflecting this morning and asking, what could we have done better as a country, as government, because there was a period I was in government, what could we have done better to expedite compensation for the victims? What could the U.S. government have done better? Yes, we are friends. What could we have done as friends to ensure that there is closure for the victims?
The leaders who lauded the victims for their resilience in their quest for justice called on both the Kenyan and the American government to ensure victims of the terrorist attack get their compensation this year.
Arlington, this is because once reminds anybody who has been to the U.S. of Arlington place in Washington and Ground Zero place in New York. This is our Ground Zero. So many Kenyans died unnecessarily. It has been said we took the bullet on behalf of American friends. But we also want to say that the time to bring closure, I agree with my sister mother, the time to bring closure is now. Dr. Romana.
The American embassy on its part said U.S. citizens have already received their compensation, the embassy promising to follow up on the same for Kenyan citizens.
I am your sister. I am your brother. I am your mother. I am your auntie. I am your daddy. I am anything you need me to be, because I see you. I see each of you. I reviewed all of your medical records. I know you're suffering. I know what you need today. I know what you've been missing for the last 25 years.
On August 7th, 1998, a bomb detonated at the U.S. Embassy in Kenya, killing 213 people and seriously injuring more than 5,000 people. Zainab Mohammed, T47.
I did promise you that we are covering this for you in the best way we can, and today marks exactly 25 years since the American embassy bomb blast that claimed the lives of hundreds of people, leaving thousands injured. And although many years have passed, the survivors of the attack are yet to find closure as they seek to forget the events of that fateful Friday. The fight for compensation from the American government also rages on, with the hope that their efforts will bear fruits in due time. Elizabeth Atieno sat down with some of the victims and survivors of the U.S. Embassy bomb blast and filed this special report.
10:30 a.m., 7th August 1998. Lives were taken. Lives were changed. A huge explosion at the American embassy completely transformed the landscape of Kenya's capital, claiming the lives of 224 people, leaving approximately 5,000 injured. We embark on a journey to Kikambala, Kilifi County. The cool breeze in this evergreen forest sways us to the home of Oscar Ikinya, one of the 5 survivors who made it through the rubbles of the Ufundi building on the fateful Friday.
So kujiguzaguza hivi ndio nikapata hapa juu, sijui kama unaona hapa kulikuwa na kijiti hapo. So nilipojaribu kuitoa ikasonga na kichwa, nikajua pengine hiyo wacha niwaachie madaktari.
For Oscar, the scar is nothing compared to the emotional and psychological torture he has been forced to endure for the past 25 years. Oscar began noticing a foul smell oozing from his body. He suspects it is trimethylaminoria or fish odor syndrome.
Nimekuwa nikitoa harufu fulani kutoka kwa mwili. Nikikaa mahali kuna watu, unapata kila mtu yuko uncomfortable. Watu wanaanza kukohoa, kushika mapua, kuniangalia vibaya. So nikawa nenda kwa madaktari, hakuna ule mwenye ananiambia ni nini. Kienda kwa huyu, hakuna mwenye ananiambia ni nini.
For now, Oscar, who lives in absolute solitude, relies on herbal medicines with the hope that one day he will catch a breath of fresh air.
Hata ukiangalia hapo utaona muringa mzungi, wanaita mzungi, muringa ndio mingi. Kwa sababu hata nilikuja hapa kupanda some of these things ndio isaidie. Kama huu mti ni sosop. So miaka imeenda, sina bibi, sina watoto, sina familia.
Back in Nairobi, we meet 83-year-old Redempta Kadenge, a mother of 6, also a survivor of the infamous bombing. On that fateful day, she was part of a boardroom meeting at the TSC building. She was the only one who made it out alive in that room. All her colleagues perished right before her eyes.
Every time I put on clothes, I found bleeding. So I lost 3 teeth. It was an open hole. If I talked, you could see the jaws moving up and down.
What's more shocking about Redempta's story is that no matter the amount of pain she endures, either physically or psychologically, she is unable to shed a tear. Her tear glands blocked due to the bomb.
And so I really got shocked when even my husband died. And I've been looking at him, I'd been seeing him and seeing him until the last minute when he breathed his last. People are crying, children are crying, but me, no. When I went back to TSC from the hospital with a letter to say that they keep me for 1 more year, the CEO refused. I said, I have my life, let me go home. And that is how I cut off TSC completely. Yes.
Both Redempta and Oscar were enrolled as beneficiaries of the Njonjo Fund, but they have only received 60,000 Kenya shillings each since the bomb blast. Let's now walk down the bumpy road to compensation for the victims of the American Embassy bombing. On the 30th of November 2011, Honorable Judge John Bates ruled in favor of plaintiffs and against the defendant. The U.S. government then announced plans to compensate victims of the bombing to up to 800 million Kenya shillings each. On the 13th of August 2013, hope faded for the victims after there were challenges collecting proceeds from the U.S. government. The payments were to come from assets seized from Al-Qaeda.
The American Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act is that it excludes Kenyan citizens from accessing remedy in the U.S.
In August 2014, an American court awarded 6 Kenyan victims 100 billion Kenya shillings. Up until now, thousands of victims are yet to receive their compensation from the American government.
Over 2 decades later, the pain of justice delayed cuts deeper in the hearts of victims of the American Embassy bombing, who wait for a piece of redemption as they seek to forget the harrowing events of 7th August 1998. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, from the 7th August Memorial Park, Nairobi.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that. A quarter of a century ago, an explosive attack targeting the U.S. Embassy, then situated at the heart of Kenya's capital, forever altered the landscape of the country. This devastating assault, which claimed the lives of 213 individuals and left over 5,000 others wounded, brought the concept of terrorism into the lives of Kenyans on a deeply personal level. The nation's perception of security and general well-being also underwent profound transformation. Orchestrated by the Al-Qaeda terrorist organization under the leadership of Osama bin Laden, the incident represented a novel kind of horror within the country. As Muiga William explores the metamorphoses in countering and preventing terrorist menaces and assaults in Kenya, available data reveals that over the past decade alone, the country has been subject to, take this, more than 300 attacks, resulting in the loss of over 500 lives and countless injuries. Take a look.
Enoch Makanga was among the first servicemen from the Kenya Police Service to respond to the scene after a suicide bomber drove a truck loaded with explosives into the American Embassy in Nairobi. The incident happened around 10:30 a.m. local time. An explosive-loaded truck forced its way to the back entrance of the embassy in the busy downtown of Nairobi. The explosion reduced much of the interior of the embassy to rubble, with adjacent buildings located within a 2 to 3 blocks radius collapsing. The explosion was heard throughout the city, and the reverberations were felt in most parts of Nairobi.
It was basically very traumatizing in terms of the amount of work that we were doing. We couldn't rest. There was no time for resting.
Makanga, a bomb expert then based at the DCI headquarters, was involved in the investigation of one of Kenya's deadliest attacks, described the incident to have served as an eye-opener to Kenyan authorities on the gaps of combating terror-related incidences.
But right now, the police have a very clear mandate on when it comes to crime scene management.
Setting camp at the scene of the bomb blast, Makanga and his colleagues spent 3 months unraveling the circumstances that occasioned the death of 224 Kenyans, including 12 Americans. Reports of the investigation indicate the attack had been planned years in advance.
Before that time, we didn't have a proper intelligence team that only zeroes in on terrorism. We didn't have that. If it was there, then it was sleeping.
The 1998 attack in the Kenyan soil was not the last to be witnessed, with security analysts hailing Kenya's authorities for taking up the challenge and improving on tackling threats within its territories. Case in point is how the Dusit D2 attack on the 19th of January 2019 was handled.
Weaponry right now is much better advanced. Our kitting is much better advanced. Our training is much better advanced.
After the 1998 bombing, the nation has witnessed hundreds of attacks, but in this report, we focus on the last 10 years and highlighting the ones that recorded huge fatalities. Among them, on the 21st of September 2013, 71 people, including 4 terrorists, were killed in an attack on the Westgate shopping mall in Westlands, Nairobi. On the 2nd of December 2013 in Mandera East, 38 people were killed. In Peketoni, Lamu on the 14th June 2014, 57 killed. July 5th, 2014 at Hindi, Lamu, 21 killed. On the 21st of November at Bula Mpya, Mandera, 28 killed. And few months later, another attack at the same area, taking place on the 1st of December, where 36 were killed. And on the 2nd of 2015 at the Garissa University, 148 people were killed. January 15th, an attack at Dusit D2 hotel occurred, claiming 21 lives.
So we are seeing an evolution in terrorism, going much further from American interests to other interests.
Terrorism continues to pose a major threat to the security of the world, and Kenya is not an exception. The Ministry of Interior in an all-hands approach to combat and thwart terror threats within the country. Mwige William, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mwege, for that. Police in Murang'a have launched a manhunt for a man who is believed to have hacked to death his 2 sons in Mugwanyoni, Murang'a County. Nelly Lusigi reports.
Ivan Kang'ethe, aged 28 years, is said to have committed the heinous act on Sunday afternoon before going into hiding. Kang'ethe reportedly sent a text message to one of his cousins telling him that he had killed the children Samuel Irungu, aged 7 years, and Brighton Mwangi, aged 3 years. The man is said to have had a dispute with his wife before she ran away, leaving the children behind under his care. The mother to the suspect said that he had been behaving weirdly of late and had threatened to kill them. Angry residents who were baying for his blood searched the area looking for him, but he was nowhere to be found. They have urged the police to hasten and track him down before he comes back to attack another family member.
Jirani, kuingia hapa ndio nilipata iko mtoto mmoja ameuawa, lakini baada ya dakika kama 5 hivi tukafungua hiyo mlango, tukaona kuna mtoto mwingine wa miaka 7 pia amekata yeye na kisu.
Sisi tunaomba ashikwe, afungiwe, ashike adabu. Auawe. Juu hatujui vile atakuja kutufanyia.
Kahuro Deputy Commissioner Patrick Muli, while confirming the incident, said that the police have launched investigations into the incident, appealing for calm among the locals. The bodies of the miners were moved to Murang'a's hospital mortuary, awaiting post-mortem. Nelly Lusigi, TV 47.
You're watching Daily Report right here on your qualified channel, TV 47. Time now for a short break. When we come back, we still have more on the other side, including business and sports. Do stay with us.
Sasa ukiwa na as low as 200 shillings. Yes, so mbili unaweza futa landlord kazi. Kila mtu sasa anaweza.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Moyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Toka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Toka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, kaunti 028.
Nikiripotia runinga ya TV 47 kutoka kaunti ya Wajir.
Nikiripotia TV 47 kutoka kaunti ya Turukana. Kwa matukio yote yanayojiri katika kaunti hii 012.
Kutoka kaunti nambari 1, kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nikiripotia TV 47 kutoka kaunti ya Lamu.
Nikiripotia TV 47 kutoka Kisii County.
Nikiripotia TV 47 kutoka kaunti ya Machakos.
Kutoka kaunti hii ya Trans Nzoia.
Kaunti 038.
Kutoka gatuzi nambari 029, kaunti ya Nandi, chemichemi ya mabingwa.
Nikiripotia TV 47 kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega.
Itakuwa nikiripotia runinga ya TV 47 kutoka kaunti ya Bungoma.
Jina langu ni Paula Munio.
Willy Dennis Njiru.
Fabian Kibet.
Mimi ni Hashim Jimal.
Mimi ni Kitio Mika Masai. John Javakiania.
Jina langu ni Abdulaziz Nameka.
Mimi ni Kombo Alfayo.
Jina langu ni Nicholas Mbai.
Isaac Famba.
Mimi ni Wanji Sosti.
Jina langu ni Arnold Adidi.
Jina langu ni Chris Bet.
Jina langu ni
faith and in the integrity of the power distributor, and a plea to the government to provide alternative solutions for their power needs. This, as the Minister of Energy CS Davis Chirchir alludes to the unaccounted for 20% margin going to lost power in the initial stages of power production, which is pushed to the end consumer.
By the time that power reaches the load centers or where the consumption happens, we could be delivering a loss of about 20%.
And a plausible explanation to who bears the brunt of such losses.
We found that disparity to be quite wide. And the rates were different even where we had generators using the same resources and possibly at the same place. The justification of the difference being that we could not really get it, and we felt that
it may have been leading to the high cost of electricity, because if one can charge 130 shillings and another one can charge 5 shillings, and all of them are feeding to the consumer, then there is an issue to be addressed.
An admission that power lost by power generators is seeping into the expenses passed to the user. On Friday the 4th, while appearing before the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Energy, the Deputy Auditor General, Stanley Mwangi, affirmed that Kenya Power had been inflating electricity prices, overcharging by up to 20% consumers for power they did not use. According to the Deputy AG, out of 96 generation plants supplying power to Kenya Power, only 38 had check meters.
This is because the energy distribution company entered into agreement to purchase electricity from the independent power producers. And in the agreement, we have an amount that is payable based on the expected minimum power generated. Even if that minimum power threshold is not achieved, the distribution company will pay that standard amount, and that is the capacity charge. When we examine that further, we realize that the capacity charge actually formed a substantive proportion of the cost of electricity that is being passed to the consumer.
Kitambo ilikuwa inatupatia ile service ya kutosha, lakini siku hizi hakuna hiyo service. Ndio tunashangaa watu wako na shida sana, wanaongezewa vile muziko ingine juu.
The shocking revelation has sent Kenyans nitpicking through token charges, with many lamenting this is further ballooning an already bloated cost of living.
Ile service nafaa kupata kama mwananchi hainifaidi, kwa sababu siku hizi unaweka stima, unaitumia kwa muda kidogo, mara inaisha.
Hii stima ni mbaya. Saa hii si kama zamani vile ulikuwa unatumia stima. Kama sasa mimi nimelipia stima ya 600, imekatwa 224. Kwa hivyo ni tofauti sana na hapo zamani.
Stima inatoka ni kama ng'ombe vile inatoa maziwa na yetu kula nyasi, inapimiwa nyasi. It's not worthy.
In a spot check conducted across the country, a section of Kenyans say they felt a difference in the pricing of power and an unfairness of pushing extra costs to unsuspecting consumers.
It actually drains our pockets. The job opportunities are minimal. So you create your own business again, but you find that the high taxation rate that is introduced is going to drain you fully down your pockets.
Kenya Power is yet to give a response on the matter. Hibak Said for TV47.
Thank you, Hibak, for that report, which leads us to sports news. But before then, of course, stand by and stay with us for that in conversation with former Kiambu Town Member of Parliament Jude Njomo on the Finance Act 2023. But before then also, Dennis Otieno is on the other side of the studio for the latest making headlines in sports news. Dennis, over to you.
A very warm welcome to Primetime Sports. My name is in the country from here.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Muyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Toka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Toka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, kaunti 028.
Nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Wajir.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Turkana. Kwa matukio yote yanayojiri katika kaunti hii 012.
Kutoka kaunti nambari 1, kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Lamu.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka Kisii County.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Machakos.
Kutoka kaunti hii ya Trans Nzoia.
Kaunti 038.
Kutoka gatuzi nambari 029, kaunti ya Nandi, chemichemi ya mabingwa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega.
Nitakuwa nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Bungoma.
Jina langu ni Paula Munio.
Willy Dennis Jiru.
Fabian Kibet.
Mimi ni Hashim Jimal.
Mimi ni Kitio Mika Masai. John Javakiania.
Jina langu ni Abdulaziz Nameka.
Mimi ni Kombo Alfayo.
Jina langu ni Nicholas Mbai.
Isaac Famba.
Mimi ni Wanji Sosti.
Jina langu ni Arnold Adidi.
Jina langu ni Chris Bet.
Jina langu ni Violet Auma.
Na TV47 inapotamba, mimi Sheila Chelangat nitakuwa nikiripotia maswala yanayokuhusu wewe kila kuchao. Every Thursday 7:30 p.m. unapata nafasi kufahamu viongozi mbalimbali kutoka humu nchini, kuanzia wabunge.
Through Changa we could get money to pay our rent, to pay our bills.
When I was growing up, water was a problem where I was born and bred. We wake up at 3 to go and look for water.
Magavana
must be ready to be a tough woman and not a woman to be walked over.
Kwa hivyo
you respect people.
Ndani ya Mfahamu Kiongozi, story na historia, na mi Elizabeth Muchuku.
Kwa mirindimo kemkem ya michezo, mahojiano ya kipekee na mabingwa wetu, makala ya kuvutia pamoja na matukio mubashara viwanjani. Shabiki, tutapiga mbizi katika kila kiwanja, ndani na hata nje ya nchi. Mtazamaji, uko tayari? Ni kazi michezoni ama michezo kazini? Ungana nami Ahmed Bahaj, sajili mpya nimefika katika kipindi cha kipekee Mchaka Mchaka. Zitatoka cheche, tutapiga mstari chini yake. Si bora michezo, ni michezo kwa ubora wake. Cheche.
They say money makes the world go round. So let's slow things down a bit. Put things in perspective. From the markets to the streets to the stocks, we make the complex comprehensible. Join me, Hibak Said, on TV47 Business News for market insights like never before.
What's making the headlines? What does it mean to you? How does it affect you? We answer all these questions every Sunday for half an hour on To The Point Show. Hey, I'm Grace Kuriakanja, and a lot has happened this week. Let's dive into it.
Wanasema wasemao kuwa elimu ni bahari haiishi kwa kuchotwa. Wakati mwingi natangamana na wanafunzi madarasani, sio kama mwalimu bali kama nahodha kwenye kipindi cha tasnia ya elimu. Na iwapo utanikosa madarasani, basi utanipata nyanjani nikisaka habari zenye usawa, ufasaha na ukweli. Na iwapo utanikosa nyanjani, bila shaka utanipata studioni hapa nikisoma habari na kuendesha mijadala mikomavu. Mimi ni Andrin Kilemi, mpenzi wa lugha ya Kiswahili na elimu kwa jumla.
Well, if it is happening, then we are definitely talking about it on TV47's Disruptive Friday. Don't miss a moment on the most technological and disruptive moment on TV.
From groundbreaking AI breakthroughs to the latest ingenious innovations, we have it all covered for you. Get ready to see the future unfold right in front of your eyes. My name is Eric Munene.
And my name is Linda Alala, and we not promise nothing short of great news experience.
Kiambu, that is Jude Njomo, who will be joining us for that conversation on the Finance Act 2023. We're getting a hold of him shortly, and we shall be having that interview right here on the Daily Report, the segment Power and Politics. Yeah, indeed, the former Member of Parliament for Kiambu, that is Jude Njomo, is joining us from Mombasa. And you will remember that earlier on today, the High Court declined to suspend the implementation of housing levy. The three-judge bench said it cannot revoke a decision made in the Court of Appeal. This is a development, the latest development on the issue surrounding the Finance Act 2023. And also the court declined to grant Okiya Omtata, that is the Busia senator, the opportunity to interrogate the Speaker of the National Assembly. That happened in court. Remember, the Chief Justice Martha Koome appointed a three-judge bench to hear and determine the case that is facing the Finance Act 2023, that the three judges are Justice David Majanja, Lawrence Mugambi, and Christine Meoli. Those are the three judges who are hearing and determining the petition against the Finance Act 2023 filed by Busia Senator Okiya Omtata. And there are others who have been enjoined in the petition. We are speaking this evening to the former Member of Parliament for Kiambu, that is Jude Njomo, joining us all the way from Mombasa. Good evening, Mheshimiwa. I believe you can now hear me. How are you? We're getting a hold of him shortly, and right here on. Perhaps take a short break. When we come back, we shall be linking up with the former Member of Parliament for Kiambu, that is Jude Njomo. Stand by for that conversation on Matters Finance Act 2023. He has had quite some views on that. Do stay with us.
Get ready for the ultimate experience.
And of course, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Kenya's biggest comedy talk show. This is a Doctor Fonega tonight. Wapinduru kama iko.
Join us every week as we welcome A-list guests for a riotous good time.
Itai ni tamu, itai inasaviwa.
This is 40-inch.
40 inches.
Yeah.
Yeye na
Manze msahau.
Nusiku msahau.
No.
Cheza, kucha kuchwa, nishazoea. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. and let the fun take over.
Jaona hiki kimudu tangu pia kama nywele.
Hata mimi nakiona. Nilifikia hii.
Don't miss out on the ultimate comedy talk show.
Welcome back to the Daily Report, this segment being Power and Politics right here on TV47. My name is George Maringa. Tonight we speak to the former Member of Parliament for Kiambu Town Constituency, that is Jude Njomo. He did make quite some submissions during the public participation of the Finance Bill 10, Finance Bill 2023, and he joins us virtually, joining us live from the county of Mombasa. Good evening, Mheshimiwa. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Thank you very much.
Indeed. Great. Thank you very much for joining us. I will begin with your reaction on the latest intrigues at the court, of course, avoiding contempt. But what do you make of the back and forth that we've seen, some opposition against the Finance Act 2023? It's now an act signed into law. First of all, I'd like to pick your mind. It was, it was suspended, and then the Court of Appeal lifted that suspension, and today the High Court declined to appeal, or rather declined to suspend that ruling against some levies in the Finance Act 2023. What do you make about all these legal battles in the courts regarding the Finance Act 2023?
As you know, the finance bill did not have good support from Wananchi, and majority of Wananchi felt that it was oppressive and it would make life unbearable in terms of cost of living. So they had some hope when the bill finally went to court, because we knew very well that the president is going to sign it into law, because he needs it, and he is the driver, behind it. So there is no way he would have rejected or refused to sign it into law. So when it was taken to court, Wananchi had hope that some of those clauses that were very oppressive would at least be expunged from the bill. But that was not to be after all those legal battles. Today, I think hope has been lost about changing or having any of the clauses in the bill changed. And therefore, Wananchi should now brace themselves for the consequences of the bill. However difficult the life might be, they must be ready to face it.
Mheshimiwa, indeed, and you did quite give your views during the public participation of the Finance Bill 10. Take us through some of your recommendations, because it was an issue that came up during the public participation process, and you aired some views. What were some of the concerns that you had back then?
Mostly these were not my views. Okay. I was just echoing what the people were saying, because the elected members were not saying what the people on the ground were saying. People were saying this bill is oppressive, and we had like four clauses that were very, very difficult for the people. And the first one, and that was going to cut across all sectors of economy, was increasing VAT from 8% to 16%. That was going to affect every sector of economy, from the fares, border fare, matatu fare, cost of unga, cost of living, cost of everything was going to be affected by this increase in the 8% increase in fuel. Secondly, was what was proposed as 3% housing levy, and people were feeling that we are moving from a capitalist kind of system to a system where we are contributing to build houses for some people. Because if I really don't need a house and I am employed, why should somebody come and deduct my money so that I can build houses for others? that is not the kind of economic system that we use as a country. I would like to build my house using my own means and my own planning. If I have joined a SACCO and I know that I plan after 3 years to go and take some loan from the SACCO so that I build a house, then why should I be contributing 3% to a fund which I do not understand? Now this was changed now from a fund into now 1.5%, and it is now a tax. So it doesn't matter, everybody has to, whether you have a house or you don't have a house, you have to pay 1.5% tax. Now it has become law, and everybody has to contribute. And I was particularly against this because I have seen it fail in other countries. It has failed in South Africa. Why do we think it's going to work here when those who have tried it before, it has refused to work? The third one was turnover tax. Turnover tax, they had initially proposed that if you have a turnover of 500,000 per year, then you must pay 3% turnover tax. And by turnover tax, we mean that whether you have made profit or losses, you must pay that turnover, you must pay that tax on your turnover. And when they were talking about 300,000, if you are a person working for 6 days a week, this was coming to about 1,500. Now it was amended, and it went to up to 1 million. By 1 million, it means if you are a barber, or if you are a boda operator, and you are collecting more than 3,400 shillings per day, then you are entitled to pay this now 3% turnover tax, whether you have made profit or not. It's just like the way you go and buy sugar from the kiosk. When you buy sugar, you have paid tax. So if you go home and you put sugar in the tea, and the tea pours down without drinking, you don't go to the government and tell them, oh, I did drink the tea which had the sugar, so please refund me the tax that I had paid for the sugar. So whether you make profit or you don't make profit, so long as you are banking more than 3,400 shillings per day, you are entitled to pay 3% to the government. Those were the three major concerns. Of course, there were others, minor ones, but those were the three major items that we were feeling when they were not good for our people.
And so, Mheshimiwa, do you feel that when you aired those views and those concerns that you've said, you know, came from the people, did you feel that perhaps they were incorporated or you were listened to?
Yes, I was listened to. But sometimes people can listen to you, but they don't hear what you tell them. But I can say this, public participation is enshrined in our constitution, and it has been happening. The best we got is that the turnover tax was proposed for anybody earning over 500,000 shillings. So after the public participation, they changed that to 1 million shillings. Well, that was not so bad, but it was not good enough because we wanted it to remain at a higher rate. Because the Kenya Kwanza government came to power as a government of the people, the government of Mama Boga, the government of Boda people. But when it comes now to tax collection, instead of putting money into their pocket as promised, they want to remove money from their pockets. Because those are the people who are being targeted when they're trying to expand their tax bracket. They are coming lower to people who are now really struggling to get the little money that they get. They want now to tax them so that they can get more money for development. To me, the bracket would have been expanded on the higher side for those people who are earning more. I remember when President Kibaki came to power after his election, he told people who were not paying taxes that he has given them, I think, 9 months or 1 year. If you know that you have not been paying tax, you have been given that moratorium period, you start paying tax. If you don't pay tax, if you don't declare yourself within that period, then if they get you, you will pay even what you have not been paying. And people voluntarily went and paid their taxes. And I remember it was going around that Kenya is the most hopeful nation. I would like those people who assessed Kenya as the most hopeful nation then to come and tell us the terminology we can use for the state of mind of Kenyans today after 1 year of the Kenya Kwanza government. Because people are not happy. People are feeling sad that they voted overwhelmingly and with a lot of hope, but the promises that were given are not being received. It's like it's happening the opposite. You are told that we'll put money in your pocket, and now you are removing money from your pocket. People are not happy at all. And I wish our government would listen to the people and act according to the promises of the people and listen to the woes that the people are going through.
Mheshimiwa, the finance, the government has a target of, additional tax revenue of 289.3 billion shillings, and this will come through taxes. As a former legislator, how is this model? What do you make of the model that the government, will collect this money through taxes, and in terms of how the current situation is, and perhaps what would be your remedy or solution to this whole, increasing the tax base while, looking at the current financial situation in the country?
Now, I want to answer that question by citing one example that is being used by the current government, that if they invest their money in housing, it is going to create 1 million jobs. If it's going to happen, then that is a good idea.
Yes.
But I doubt that the housing will create a million jobs. To me, the government should be investing in areas where it's going to create employment, where it's going to create a conducive environment for our people to do business. The government should become an enabler for people to make money so that they can pay taxes. The government should focus on improving our agriculture so that our farmers make more money and then they pay more taxes. The government should enable our people to do business, to make money, because government depends on the money that I pay tax, the money that you pay tax, the money which everybody pays taxes. So if it can enable people to make money by investing in various ways, that would be the best way, because it's a win-win situation for everybody. The government makes his tax, and Mwananchi makes his money. That way, and they can use it with the county governments, because the county governments are very close to the people. There's a contact between the people and the government. The county governments from different counties knows the needs for different areas and should invest in those areas so that people can make money. Markets should be opened. Value addition for our products should be introduced so that we don't just sell raw material. By value addition, we'll be creating cottage industries, which will create employment, which will improve the skills of our people. The government has the capacity to do that, and they should focus on that, because that is what is going to help our youth.
Yes, Mheshimiwa, during your time, you introduced a bill in Parliament seeking to cap lending rates, and the reaction was quite timid back then. When you look at your efforts and the lending rates that have gone higher this year, what do you make of the how the government is trying to raise revenue, whereas the populace, that is the population, is in the situation that they are in? And do you think that your efforts back then bore fruit during the period of your tenure as Member of Parliament?
In fact, when we capped the interest rates in Parliament a couple of years ago, that was one way of trying to enable people to do business by having credit available to them. And that is where we were feeling that the banks were not sensitive to the needs of the people, and we thought by lowering the interest rates. We will make funds available to a wider range of people who can now invest the money they borrow into doing business. But the banks, in their own way of thinking, frustrated this effort, and after some time, the amendment was repealed. Now we are going back to the same situation where we were those years. Some banks now are as high as 20% in interest rates. So I think the government should twist the banks into making sure that they are funding our entrepreneurs. And another way of doing that is by the government stopping to borrow from local market. Because if the bank now is the biggest borrower of the credit from the banks. If the banks stop borrowing from local market, there will be a lot of money available for business, and that is one of the ways of making people to do their business. Today, if you go to a bank and you are charged 18%, how many businesses will be there which can make 18%, pay 18% interest, and then over and above that make a profit? And that is why many people are not doing business. That is why if you go to on Monday at the back of the newspapers, you see so many people are being auctioned because they have been unable to pay for their loans because the interests are just too high to make any business sense. So I think there's a lot that our government should do, and even our elected members should legislate rules, laws that keep those interest rates down. Otherwise, it will become impossible to do business.
On the flip side, Mheshimiwa, Honorable Kimani Kuria, who is the MP of Molo, said when the Finance Act was, the implementation that had been suspended was lifted by the Court of Appeal, he said that, the manufacturing of fertilizer will be zero rated, the excess duty on electric motorcycles will be removed, rental income tax reduced from 10% to 7.5%, RDL and IDF was reduced, maize, wheat and cassava flour now zero rated. When you look at that, such measures that the government says, look at the positive side, look at the, the other side of the coin, are these measures that perhaps impact directly on the hustlers that they came in, that they advocated themselves to, and perhaps would be perhaps a remedy in terms of trying to achieve the promises that they made to them?
To me, those are just like icing of the cake, yeah. There are small positive things in the finance bill, but the very major things have a very big impact. 16% VAT on fuel have a very big impact in the cost of living. The 1.5% housing levy has a lot of impact on the livelihood of people who are earning. And not only that, it has a lot of effect because the employer is also paying 1.5%. Apart from the other taxes that the manufacturer and the employers are paying, they are now paying an extra 1.5% of the salary as an additional cost to the employer. And the employer doesn't want any house. So we will start seeing our manufacturers moving to our neighboring countries, transferring their businesses there because our taxes will just be too expensive, and they find that it will be easier to do businesses in other countries, which even apart from taxes, they have less demonstrations and less disruptions of their businesses.
Mheshimiwa, and that brings about the other factor that we saw, the KRA has backdated the implementation of the housing tax. What do you make of such, a move, especially at such a time? The 1.5%.
I don't know how legal that is, because as far as I am concerned, law is never applied in retrospect. The law is applied when it is declared. Now, when Omtata went to court and the implementation of the law was suspended, in my own understanding, the law did not cease to exist from that time until today, when the court have released or have agreed that the act can go ahead. In my own understanding, that is an illegality, and I am very, very sure Omtata will go back to court on that particular matter.
Mm-hmm. And so, and you know, also that happens when we saw the EPRA implementing the VAT, the 16%. During President Uhuru Kenyatta's time, some of the members of parliament who moved this motion, who advocated for this bill, were very categorical that the 16% was hurting Kenyans. So does it then seem to be speaking from both sides of their mouth, because the 16% VAT has been implemented during the administration of the Kenya Kwanza government?
You see, when the proposal was brought to Parliament during Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure,
yes,
the members of Parliament rejected it. Mm-hmm. They said they are not going to pass it because it's going to hurt Kenyans. And in fact, the president had to call for a Kamukunji to convince members of Parliament that this 8% is very, very important, and told them why it was important. They still negotiated because President Uhuru Kenyatta wanted to increase it to 16%. The members of Parliament then, because they were not like a choir like the one we are seeing today, went to the president and negotiated, and they agreed, okay, we are not going to pass it at 16%, we will pass it at 8%. So they negotiated and agreed. I hope they did that, the current Parliament did that, so that we don't have, even if they would have increased it by like about 3% for a period of 1 year, then another 3% next year, when people don't get all that shock at the same time. Mm-hmm. You will see businesses will start closing because people cannot afford to do business. The taxes will be more than the profit that they are making.
Mm. So what perhaps would you, in your assessment, seem to predict, or if you can tell how the situation will be? You say businesses will be affected, they could end up closing. Do you think that it will be as adverse and as severe as you opine?
Yes, I think many people will be hurt. Because if really you can't make profit in your business, they are not making profits right now, even before the implementation of the finance bill. Mm. Businesses are just surviving. So by having those taxes imposed on them, taxes that are going to cut across the board, that will hurt the economy. We'll wait to see how the housing is going to be implemented. Maybe the government may come up with some, magical way of making it work. Mm. If it works, yes, it's going to provide employment, but only for a few of our millions of unemployed people. So it must go back to the drawing board. It must become more creative. It must think out of the box on which other ways can we use to create employment for our youth. Mm. Yeah, because there are many, and housing cannot employ everybody, and not everybody is also good at doing housing or welding or wiring or plumbing. People have, where will the accountants go? Where will be our artists? Or there are many people who needs employment. So we need to really think outside the box and come up with ways and means of providing employment, not only for our youth, because it's not only youth. There are people who have even been working for years, but they have lost their jobs and they are still at home. Two, it's not always that the government must create employment. Can the government create a conducive environment for me, for the artists, for the musician, for the painter, for the person in the creative world, for somebody who has his own talent? Can the government enable these people so that they can earn a living? I know many ways have been tried Some have failed, some have worked. There used to be these programs where youth used to be employed by the government to do cleaning, to do ABCD, and the youth were being helped by this. They could work for a couple of days in a week, and this would help them, to put food on the table. What other things can we do? By maybe doing some irrigation, by doing some water plants, by improving our animal husbandry. There are many things that the government can do and create a better environment, a more conducive environment for our people to do business, for our people to do farming, for our youth to have activities to do in the rural areas, and that way they don't have to always think about increasing tax. They can increase the capacity for people to earn, and by increasing the capacity for people to earn, they will earn more taxes because more people are earning.
Yeah, Mheshimiwa, this government has been, this administration has been very vocal in trying to avoid, borrowing that is in the way of loans, especially external loans. But then what would be perhaps a cure or a remedy in terms of trying to finance the budget, the 2023-2024 budget, while still trying, to caution the population, the Mwananchi, the Kenyans, but again, would then taking a loan, as they have argued that they will not, but will that be perhaps a softer way of cushioning the Kenyans?
But what is the purpose of, reducing the amount of loan that you are taking externally, and then you increase the amount of money you are borrowing locally, at the detriment of taking all the money that Wananchi could borrow and go and do their businesses? Yes, you can reduce borrowing. But if you reduce borrowing and then you impose a tax of 3%, which you take from employers and employees, then you have stopped borrowing from the international market, and you are borrowing you're not even borrowing, you are taking from the people. I did find that very, very comfortable, not only to myself, but even to the people on the ground. They are not happy with that at all. So yes, there have always been talk of reducing external borrowing, but sometimes you can jump from the frying pan into the fire, and that is, as far as this borrowing is concerned, that is where we are now.
Let's talk about the government expenditure and, the amounts that are used to run government, and juxtapose that with what is dedicated to development. When you look at the budget 2023-2024, do you think the appropriations are as merited in their manifesto that they said they will focus more on the development?
I wouldn't like to talk much about that because, sincerely speaking, I have not studied the appropriation in details.
Okay.
But I know a lot was promised, and it needs to be delivered. But we must remember, Rome was not built in one day. We cannot deliver all the promises on day one or on year one. And two, the promises are also being delivered. I wouldn't even say in piecemeal. It's like we had a set of so many promises. We have decided we are not going to fulfill this, but we are going to fulfill this. Because the first promise was to cut down or to reduce the cost of living. And the first thing that is happening is to increase the cost of living. I think the government needs to be very, very, very candid on what they want to do, and also to be sensitive to the feelings of the people. Let them fulfill their promises, but to know that you cannot fulfill all the promises on year one, because that will really be very hard on the people, and it may also have its own political repercussions.
So would you be suggesting perhaps the measures or the proposals that they have that have caused you the taxation be staggered or spread out through the 5 years?
I think we are biting more than we can chew. Yeah, I think they should be staggered. For example, I would have postponed, if I were the one doing it, I would have postponed. If I'm doing increasing VAT on fuel, I would have postponed the building levy to another year, or look for another way of getting the building levy. But putting the two of them together is too much. Is too much for our people.
And when you look at also the internal borrowing, that is the bank rates and the we talked a little bit about that, but let's go into details about the bank rates and the government's local borrowing. What does that do in terms of affecting the borrowing rates of when Kenyans go then to borrow? Does that also mean that the repayment will have major repercussions?
If you remember when President Kibaki said he will stop borrowing from local banks.
Yes.
Our banks were left with so much liquidity that they started going around in supermarkets, in malls, putting tents out there, asking people to open accounts so that they can borrow loans from the banks. And the interest rates naturally went down. Now, today, the banks don't have money to lend because the government is borrowing every week. Every week is borrowing so much money from the local markets. And you have never seen an auction of a certain law court or a certain hospital because the government has not paid its loan. The government is known as a good payer, and that is why even the interest rates to the government is lower. So if you go to line up in the bank, you want to borrow some money, and the government is next to you lining up, the bank manager will not even attend to you before attending to the government. And that is exactly what is happening. All the money is borrowed by the bank, by the government, so the little that remains for wananchi, who are now perceived as risk borrowers, is loaned at a very high interest rates. That makes the cost of money to be very expensive. That has a lot of effect on the cost of living, and that also makes many people to fall into debt, into bad debts, because as the years go by, if you had borrowed at 16%, then 2 years later it is at 18%, then your business plan will fail because you had not assessed, you had not put into, you had thought that you're going to pay at 16%, but the bank has now changed to a higher interest rates, which will make it impossible for you to service your loan like you would have liked to.
So when you look at measures, perhaps even as we bring this conversation to a close, Mheshimiwa, when you look at incentives, especially from the local market, the appetite for the investment in procedures or processes such as the government bonds, the interest rate has been increased. Up to the last one we did see, the infrastructure one was at 15.8%. When you juxtapose that to the appetite and what Kenyans perhaps consider this as investment, do you think this is the right way to go?
I didn't understand your question, please.
In terms of the appetite for the government to borrow locally, and then the interest rate that they use to attract the appetite now from Kenyans is high interest rates on their principal. Do you think that perhaps encourages, investment in, or rather buying into lending government, and what is the ripple down effect locally on the economy?
No, of course it has a lot of effect. For one, I think the government, after it borrows now from the banks, it's able to do its plans and finance its activities.
Yes.
But now the Mwananchi will not be able to do business because there are many people out here who have very good plans, who, if they are financed, they can make very good business, because Kenyans are very, very creative. Kenyans are very enterprising, but we are not giving them a chance to do that.
Yeah.
If the banks had a problem lending their money, they will become very creative in coming up with packages that will enable people to borrow their money. They are even going to lend it for longer periods of time. They are going to assist wananchi with maybe like doing financial planning for their projects. Yeah. But if the government takes all the money, then it's stifling development, it's stifling financing of what would have otherwise become a very business vibrant community.
Yeah, Mheshimiwa, as you bring this...
If you look at projects that are done by youth,
yes,
they are youth funded by some programs, government programs like the Youth Fund, the other funds that fund women group. And they do small businesses, and they make money. Whether they do it jointly or singly, they do very good projects.
Yes.
And these projects really help wananchi down there on the ground. Go to the streets of Nairobi today.
Yes.
You'll find young people shooting short films for TikTok and for YouTube, and they are making money. Yeah? Go to a wedding today or to a function, you'll see people there with cameras taking photos, and they are making money out of that. We have a very creative society. But if the government takes all the money from the bank, and this creativity needs to be funded, then we are stifling development. People can employ themselves. People can make money if they are provided with a conducive environment to do that. And I'll say that 1,000 times, because I know it happens. I know that is the only way that we are going to open up our people into business, by providing them with an environment where they can lend. We have so many startups. What kind of support program can the government come up with so that if I have a good startup, I am able to give it a proposal to a certain organization. They see that I have a good idea, but I need to be helped with A, B, C, D. I need to be helped with an engineer here, or I need to be helped with an IT, so that now we can put it together, then we raise funds, and that becomes a business in future which can employ several people. I would like to remind you that M-Pesa was born in Kenya, invented by a Kenyan. I don't know whether he earns from it or not. That's a story for another day.
Absolutely.
There are so many inventions that have been done in Kenya from our creative people. If we could create an atmosphere where this creativity can be made into business, that now will... Somebody once told me that our economy is like a plane taking off from an airport when it is on the runway. So our economy has just been speeding on the runway, but it has never gotten that final power that will make it take off. And these are the small activities, like what I'm suggesting. If we can do that for agriculture, we do it for our business people, we do it for our women group, then our economy will get that final thrust to take off.
Indeed, thank you so much.
And once it takes off, then things will just put themselves in place.
Indeed, interesting and wonderful suggestions you've provided for us right here on the Daily Report on TV47. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. I've been speaking to Mheshimiwa Jude Njomo, who is the former Member of Parliament for Kiambu Town Constituency. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for joining us on TV47.
Karibu.
Asante sana. Indeed, my name is George Maringa. Appreciating your feedback online. The conversation continues. As always, stay safe and be kind to one another. Tomorrow, we have an interesting program right here for you. The People's Court, you want to stand by for that and much more coming your way right here on TV47. I'll see you tomorrow.
With 200 bob only, you can be your own landlord. Yes, everyone now has an opportunity to become a homeowner through Boma Yangu. Start saving any amount towards the 10% deposit required for unit allocation. Register through *832# or log in through www.bomayangu.go.ke and deposit 200 shillings as the registration fee and as the initiation deposit. Dial *832# and take advantage of this opportunity. Boma Yangu is a government affordable housing program.
"60 years after Kenya gained independence, the county still lingers in the shadows, yearning for progress. The question echoes through the winds: have they been forgotten?
Tangu nimezaliwa nikakuwa kubwa na barabara iko hivyo tu. Sijaona mabadiliko yote.
But beyond their despair is a glimmer of hope: agriculture.
In my hand are bounties of what our earth can produce.
Could this be the very